to That Is Effin' Weird. Today we got another great episode. We're going to continue on with the military month. And as you read the title, obviously, you're here to talk about some military heroes. Now, we're going to stay a little bit off the beaten path for this one. And I left the title kind of ambiguous till right about now, which, yes, we're going to be talking about heroes, but not just any ordinary heroes. We're going to be talking about animals. That's right. Everyone loves animals, right? For the most part. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about some military heroes pretty much through like all the different countries and everything, not just the U.S. That served proudly. Might have won a couple of awards here and there. But we're going to do a little bit something interesting beforehand. Is I'm going to say the hero's name, and then you guys are going to have to guess. I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it, maybe 15 seconds to think about it, and then you can tell me what you think. I mean, obviously, can't hear you or anything like that, but I'll give you time based on the name, what you think this animal might be, right? Or, what we could do instead of that, I will read, I won't tell you the animal till the very end. Now, I mean, throughout the titles or throughout the whole little description thing, it may give it away, but I'll try my best to try to hide that from you. I'll give you the description, give you guys a couple seconds to think about what it is, and then we'll go from there. But before we start, my name is Stevenson Longbottom. Thank you again for showing up and tuning in. Really appreciate that. Let's just get right into it. Let's stop with the stupid admin stuff always, right? All right, here we go. The first hero we have is Sergeant Stubby. That says the animal right there. So Sergeant Stubby served as the mascot for the 102 or 102nd Infantry Division second. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to try this again. Sergeant Stubby, an American blank that served as the mascot for the 102nd Infantry 26th Yankee Division in the U.S. Army in World War I. In 1917, he was smuggled overseas to France by his owner, Private J. Robert Conroy, where he won over a commanding officer with his impressive ability to salute. He was injured in a gas attack, but managed to make a full recovery. He would later use his knowledge of deadly gases to warn the sleeping troops of an attack before the alarms would sound, saving countless lives. Sergeant Stubby would also track down injured troops in the trench, listening for English words and doing something to alert nearby medics. His most astounding achievement was the capture of a German spy, whom he caught making a map of the Allied trenches. He managed to subdue the soldier with something until the troops showed up. After the incident, he was given the rank of sergeant. He was the first animal in the United States to receive an official rank. He was retired after an injury from a grenade blast that put him in the hospital. By the end of his career, Sergeant Stubby had served in 17 battles, won numerous commendations, and met with 3 different presidents. His body is kept in the collection of the National Museum of American History. Now, I think you guys can kind of piece together what animal this might be. And let me first off say, okay, U.S., it's a smaller animal, obviously, right? Because Private Robert Conroy smuggled this animal in. So I guess if you're thinking about it, it has to be probably no bigger than a backpack-sized animal, right? From the U.S. back in the 1917. Now, granted, it could have been something odd, right? I don't think animal regulations in the U.S. were very strict, so I think you could have a gator in your home and maybe a monkey or two, but drum roll please, and it was a dog. Yep, I guess you guys probably guessed that. So some of the things that I kept out, was an American dog that served as the mascot, right? So what he did was that he managed to subdue the soldier with bites to the leg until troops showed up. Let's see here. What else? What else did I keep out? That was pretty much it. Yeah, it was really those two things at the very beginning. I think kind of throughout it, you might have guessed it was a dog or whatever. Because, I mean, track down injured troops in the trench. What animal tracks? Probably a dog. It doesn't say the type of dog that it was. It's a smaller dog. If I had to guess, it's about the size of like have you ever seen the show Wishbone? It's like about that size. I feel like Wishbone size. So yeah, dog, pretty cool though, right? I wonder if it was one of those things too back in the day where like smuggling an animal in, like, I don't know, I feel like he should have gotten in maybe a little bit more trouble. I mean, you're taking an animal, again, this was way back in the day. I don't think anything like that nowadays would necessarily fly. So, but I'm pretty sure that service members nowadays, if they do go overseas, there's some sort of act that allows them to bring whatever animal that might be over there back to the United States. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a military police dog or something like of the sorts. I'm pretty sure it's if just, you see a cat or a dog that you like, you can submit paperwork to get it over there. Now, I don't know how all of that works. That might be something that, have to look into, but I have heard of that where, service members bring home animals from overseas. So cool. I'm sure like little, animals like this is a good coping mechanism. Also, in rough times and everything like that, having your, a cuddle buddy and everything like that, keep your mind occupied and not think too much about the war and everything, especially in 1917, the First World War, trench warfare and everything. It's really sad that the dog got injured by a grenade and everything, but I wonder if this adds like another level of what am I trying to say? Like, where it's like, okay, you need to focus on what you're doing, the task at hand, but then you have your pet dog back in the trenches and you get separated, and do you make unnecessary risks because you brought your dog over and everything? So I could see it from two point of views where, the leadership or whoever at the time is like, no, you can't do that. But I guess you could say the exact same thing about when you build friendships, over there. But yeah, interesting. It would be really cool if that could actually still be a thing, or, if you could prove, or if your animal could go through some sort of like training program or something like that, so you could serve with your animal. It didn't matter. It didn't have to be like a military police dog or anything like that, but just like your day-to-day life. You're working on, like, I don't know what other job, like a cook, right? It'd be cool then there would be a bunch of hair in the food. Never mind. Got to keep the dogs and cats out of the kitchen. I have cats, and holy cow, it's bad. They're long-haired cats too, so you always find hair in your food. Don't let that discourage you from coming over and having dinner with me by any means. I'll double make sure to keep the cats away and vacuum the house before we have our dinner together. Anyways, we're gonna continue on. Good story. Hey, Sergeant Stubby, congratulations, and glad that you were there. All right, moving on. All right, this is another U.S. animal. So again, I will try to keep the anything about it's saying what animal it actually is to the very end. All right, so Sergeant Reckless. Fuck, this may not work. I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna keep that first. I'm gonna keep that first part out. All right. So, she was purchased by Lieutenant Eric Pedersen, and I'll explain why, because it gives it away right away. There's the first two sentences. There's whatever. Recruited her into the Marine Corps under the Recoilless Rifle Platoon, Anti-Tank Company, 5th Marine Regiment. Her duty was to carry heavy weapons and ammunition, but she would soon be known for her exuberant personality. She loved attention and was known to enjoy some beers with the fellow soldiers. Reckless had the freedom to wander camp and had a reputation for eating anything offered to her, but her favorite meal may well have been scrambled eggs and Coca-Cola. Oh my gosh, those farts. Sergeant Reckless performed bravely in the Korean War and did far more than an ordinary beast of burden. She helped lay down communication lines and was extensively trained for fortnight combat situations. Eventually, she was promoted to staff sergeant and retire with full medal honors. And this one's kind of tough because, I mean, you know, it says it right there, a beast of burden, right? So you know it's a little bit probably heavier set animal to carry the hefty weapons and ammunition. So you know it's some sort of carrying animal. But, you know, if you think about it, this could be really anything, right? I mean, it could be a horse, it could be a donkey, it could be a cow, it could be a bull, you know, just, you know, something that, because it doesn't say that anybody rode this animal, right? So, you know, I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. Okay, I'm going to read the first sentence and then you guys tell me what you think, right? Sergeant Reckless started her life as a racehorse in Korea under the name of Ha Chim Hai. I can't pronounce that. A name that translates to Flame of the Morning. So, yeah, that's why I couldn't say the first part because that would have given it away, obviously, if she was a racehorse. But yeah, that's pretty cool that it's interesting, again, like that, you know, back in the day when you were serving overseas, you could just buy a horse, right? I wonder I didn't say how much she cost, but I'm wondering if this was one of those animals that got brought back over after she was done serving and everything. So pretty cool. I wonder if Lieutenant Patterson kept the horse, or if the horse just stayed with this company, anti-tank company, because she didn't die. She eventually was promoted to staff sergeant and would retire with full military honors. So that's really cool, right? And again, it just kind of shows that, like, for me, anyway, I know we're only 2 animals in, but, you know, just animals serving alongside humans, like they can do their job, right? But I do feel bad in the sense too, like, you know, Sergeant Stubby at the first one, you know, taking a grenade blast and everything. We still use animals in the military, you know, like I'd said before, you have the military police, but I don't know if maybe there's a special units group that uses animals. I'm not sure. I'm really wondering if there's going to be a cat. I'm really wondering. I bet there has to be, right? Okay, let's go on to, all right. G.I. Joe, that's the animal's name, was responsible for saving the lives of an estimated 1,000 men during World War II during an attempt to take back German-occupied town of Bicenia, Italy. American bombers were prepped to unleash a payload to support British troops on the ground. However, the unexpected German retreat meant that the British could take the village ahead of schedule. The problem was no one could take a message to the Americans about to bomb the whole town. As a last-ditch effort, G.I. Joe was sent back to the base with a message to stop the bombing. Beyond anyone's predictions, Joe was able to go 20 miles back to the base in just 20 minutes. He arrived just before the planes were scheduled to take off, earning him the Dickin Medal for Animal Gallantry, the only American animal to receive this British accommodation. Now again, okay, what animal can go 20 miles in 20 minutes? That's pretty fast, right? So, World War II, if you think about it, you probably guessed it, it's a pigeon, right? I think the whole bring a message back to the, you know, they weren't sending messenger cats or messenger rats or, you know, anything of the sorts. It was a carrier pigeon. So G.I. Joe was an American carrier pigeon responsible for saving the lives of estimated 1,000 men. That, to me, that still is astonishing that they used pigeons, during the war. I mean, it makes sense, and it's just, it's crazy that, you know, they implemented this as a means of communication. I mean, no, back in the day, you didn't have radios, you didn't have satellites, so you have to you have to use whatever you have available, right? So it made sense. It's just, for me, how do you know that the bird is actually going to go back to where it needs to go, right? And I don't have never trained birds. I've never been around birds. I had 2 birds when I was really young. But they were parakeets, right? Like the PetSmart parakeets. They were dumber than hell, but that's besides the point. Is like, how does this pigeon not like stop for water or stop to, eat, take a break, whatever? But I know, like, birds just fly nonstop. There was another article on Reddit that some like baby bird flew like 80 miles or some shit like that, like right out of the nest, not stopping for food or water or nothing. Like, holy cow. But again, birds just have to like stick their arms out, and then they'll let air do the rest, or the wind do the rest, carry them. So, but still, still probably takes a little bit of energy. My biggest thing is, like, I just don't know how they go back to their point of origin, right? Or how do you make sure that they get to where they need to? Now, I watched a movie way back in the day called Lost Battalion, and in that they use carrier pigeons, and it's kind of interesting because and again, this was a movie and everything, but it was not like a Hollywood blockbuster movie, so I feel like this was a little bit more accurate. It looked that way, but then again, it's a fucking movie. Anyways, but yeah, the guy sent off a pigeon, and the pigeon didn't go exactly to where it needed to go. Like, it hopped around, like it went exactly like to the base that it needed to, but it like stopped on the ground and then like hopped around and like ate some food, and then like there was a box on the side of a house that the bird kind of flew up to eventually, and like as it went through this box, it would like ring a bell, and the guys grabbed it, saw the little message on the foot. And that's the thing too, is like, you can only write so much on a piece of paper and snap it to this pigeon's leg. They can't carry a whole lot. But yeah, and I want to say there's a video game too. I think it was like Battlefield 2, 4, whatever, like the old school one. Like, one of the first like intro things was like, you play as a little carrier pigeon. Kind of cool stuff there. But I think that's really amazing that that we use those means of communication. Yeah, this is I apologize. I thought this was gonna be like other nations' animals too, but we'll keep on going. Cool thing right there. Good job, G.I. Joe. Jackie sacrificed a limb for his country. Oh, hell yeah, Jackie. All right, Jackie served in his country in the trenches of World War I after being shipped out with the 3rd South African Infantry Regiment. He was originally the pet of a private Albert Marr, a young South African man who joined the military and asked if he could bring Jackie with him. Jackie partook in drills like any other soldier and was so respected for his good behavior, he was made the official mascot of the unit. He was given a proper uniform, trained to salute and rest at ease, and was even used as a late-night watchman. His accurate hearing allowed him to warn the regiment of nearby enemy movement. When Private Marr took a bullet to the shoulder, Jackie stayed by his side and even licked the wound in attempt at some salvin heal first aid. Salmon saliva. Oh, obviously licking saliva first aid. His military service would come to an end when he was wounded by shrapnel during an enemy bombing run while trying to build a small stone wall for protection. One of his legs would be amputated, but Jackie and Private Marr would both survive the war. Back home, the duo worked with the Red Cross to raise money for injured troops. Kind of a sweet story right there. And again, this one isn't about the U.S. Cool. So what do you think it could be? Now this one's kind of tough too, because he was trained to salute and rest at ease, and was even used as a night watchman. So what animal do you think could be left alone and serve as a night watchman? Now again, this is South Africa, so you have to think maybe a little bit more, what kind of animals are down there. I think, just reading about that, I know I keep bringing up cats, but it could be a lion, right? I feel like a lion, because that's not a lot of animals lick their wounds. That's why that saying is there. But, I feel like if I had to guess, it would probably be a lion, which you'd be wrong, because Jackie was a baboon. Yep. Jackie the baboon sacrificed a limb for his country. That's really cool. That's really interesting too, like that they used a baboon. Like the guy, Albert Marr, had Jackie as a pet before going in. So it's really cool that they, like, even before, because, you know, Sergeant Stubby was smuggled in. What was it? What was the other one that we just talked about? The horse, not the pigeon, but the horse. Reckless. That was purchased in Korea. But this guy had Jackie as a pet beforehand. So that's really cool. And there's a picture of it. There's a picture of Jackie, and Jackie looks pretty stoic. I'm not gonna lie. Probably one of the best service members that I've seen. You know, I'm probably gonna make this month's t-shirt design off these animals. And Jackie, you're up there with, probably gonna be up there with number one for. You know, maybe I might put like a collage of all these animals. And yeah, I'll figure that piece out. But right now, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I mean, it would be pretty cool to have the Kandahar Giant on a shirt, but I mean, we have a Bigfoot shirt and shit like that. So, but yeah, that's really cool that they used. Now, it doesn't say that Jackie actually, like, you know, fought or anything like that. So I'm wondering if it was, you know, if Jackie was just kind of like walked around and, you know, with Private Marr the entire time. I don't know if they actually really did anything, but, you know, he was used as a night watchman, and his accurate hearing allowed him to warn the regiment of nearby enemy movements, which it doesn't really say that, like, he actually did that, but that might have been, like, his purpose. So, you know, while everyone else could get rest, all right, let the baboon kind of, you know, stay awake and all that. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Jackie the baboon. It doesn't say that he was given any sort of rank or anything. I mean, he does, it looks like on his sleeve, he might have like some sort of a rank or something like that, but other than that, it doesn't really look like it. Poor guy. Jackie lost a limb. All right, this one, okay. I'm going to try to pronounce the name. Wojtek was on the front lines in World War II. While it may seem like keeping a blank as a pet is not the best idea in the world, that didn't stop a Polish soldier who purchased a young animal in the market in Iran. Wojtek was raised by the soldier. Oh my gosh, I need to start this one again. All right. Wojtek, was on the front lines in World War II. While it may seem like keeping this animal as a pet is a bad idea, that didn't stop a group of Polish soldiers who purchased this young animal in a market in Iran. Wojtek was raised by the soldiers and was socialized to humans at a very early age. He was adopted into the 22nd Artillery Supply Company of the Polish Second Corps, where he was on the official roster and even received military rations. He was known for his love of beer and eating cigarettes, and his presence was a massive morale booster for the weary soldiers. It wasn't all games for Wojtek, as he served in several battles in Italy. He carried shells, supplies for his regiment, and after the war, Wojtek would spend the remainder of his life in a zoo, where he would be regularly visited by the men who raised and served with him. All right, so with that being said, what sort of animals do you think could be purchased in Iran in a market in, well, this is World War II? So like around the 1940s. Now, see, like, again, I see videos all the time of just crazy animals that, you know, people have in the Middle East, where it's like, you couldn't do that here in the States. So, again, my first thought would probably be like a tiger or something of the sorts, you know? I was thinking maybe like a giant snake. That would have been cool. Because, you know, can you imagine just a big giant snake slithering around? I mean, it'd be kind of cool if you could attach like a little satchel to it, and it would like to like and bring like ammunition across the battlefield and everything like that. It'd be hard to carry that thing though. But yeah, this one was, Wojtek was a bear. So while it may seem like keeping a live bear as a pet isn't a good idea, that didn't stop a group of Polish soldiers, that's a tongue twister, Yeah, so they purchased a bear in a market in Iran. So it doesn't say that he was on the official rosters and received military rations, but it never didn't receive like any sort of rank or anything like that, as far as that says on here. That would be pretty crazy, though. Can you imagine being the enemy, sneaking into this camp, and then there's just a bear there? Like, that would be... I'd shit my pants, right? I don't know if you've ever seen... It doesn't say if it was a black bear, brown bear, whatever. It does have a picture of Wojtek. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Wojtek. Wojtek. That sounds right to me. Wojtek. Anyways, it doesn't say what kind of bear. To me, if I had to say, it looks more like a brown bear than anything. I feel like brown bears' faces are a little bit, I don't know, just like it's thinner, smaller in a sense. Because I know it could have been, I guess, maybe a sun bear. Those are pretty popular, I know, in India. But this one doesn't have, like, sun bears, I feel like, have that, like, cobra flare to them, like, near their head. I don't know, it's hard to... If you've never seen a sun bear, they're scary. Look it up, right? But that one doesn't fit the bill for this one either. Again, it's only one picture, and it's from the side, so it could be... I forgot the official name of the sun bear, but yeah, sun bear, maybe. Brown bear, maybe. Definitely not a polar bear. It doesn't look like a black bear to me. But yeah, that's really cool. Doesn't say, again, if they got any sort of medals or awards or anything of the sorts. But definitely loved eating, and they definitely used it as a morale booster and to, like, carry stuff, which I feel like these larger animals, that's what they're using them for. Which, again, like, I don't understand why we don't keep on doing that, right? That'd be really cool if you could. I mean, save on gas, right? But then again, if you think about it, right, what you would spend on gas for, like, a little, like, trailer, John Deere, little motorized vehicle, you're now having to, scoop shit and, water and feed for the animal. But again, I mean, maybe feed is a lot cheaper. Shit, feed's got to be cheaper than gas right now. But all right, we're gonna continue on. All right, Siwash, the blank, forgot the Japanese on Tarawa. Interesting. All right, so Siwash was a blank from New Zealand, pictured above, standing on the remains of a Japanese bunker, who served with the U.S. Marine Corps in World War II. Amazingly, she was wrongly assumed to be a male during her time as a Marine. Her wartime prowess was documented with a full-page spread in Life magazine. It is unclear exactly how Siwash joined the 1st Battalion of the 10th Marines, but the story goes that she was won by a Marine in the unit during a game of poker. She is most famous for her actions on the island of Tarawa, where she would engage in a bill-to-beak battle with a Japanese rooster. Although she sustained injuries to the head, she managed to drive back the enemy and help secure the beach. She received many honors for her bravery, including a Purple Heart, and would eventually retire at the San Diego Zoo. All right, so it's a bird of some sorts. As soon as I said the bill-to-beak combat with a rooster, it's another bird of some sort. So is it A? So well, I mean, it could be a chicken, could be a rooster, maybe a goose, duck. What other animals? Could be another pigeon. Shit, right? But what kind of confused me with this one? Okay, so she was most famous for her actions on the island of Tarawa, where she engaged a bill-to-beak combat with a Japanese rooster, although she sustained injuries to the head. I'm wondering if this is like, okay, yeah, she, fought another bird, but then, like, was just, on the beaches and everything like that, and then, when they went away or back home, they just took her with and then brought her to the zoo. I don't know how that works, but the animal is a duck. Yes, she was a duck from New Zealand. It's just crazy. I feel like all of these animals, there's been nothing, it's always been World War I or World War II. There's nothing, like, beyond those two that we're talking about any sort of animals, which, again, like, I understand, but, it'd be really cool to see, some different era of wars, maybe something from like, I don't know, way back when, I don't know. But yeah, the duck, that duck, good job, sea wash. Let's see here. Simon the Blank was a decorated naval crewman. Interesting. All right, so what was the name again? Simon. All right, so Simon served on the British naval vessel HMS Amethyst during the Chinese Civil War. Okay, he was awarded the Dickin Medal for his instrumental role in a 3-month siege that occurred in some sort of river in 1949. Originally found in Hong Kong, Simon was smuggled aboard the vessel and quickly bonded with the ship's captain. He immediately was set to work on killing the rat infestation that had been plaguing the ship. Oh, nice. Unfortunately, Simon was badly wounded when the boat was bombarded by communist Chinese troops. After receiving medical treatment for his wounds, he would begin a full recovery. Eventually, he killed a giant rat nicknamed Mo Si Tung, earning him a promotion as an able seaman for defending the crew's food supply from the most deadly of beasts and allowing the crewmen to survive a full 3 months under siege. Simon became the first and only blank to receive the Dickin Medal. He would pass away shortly after returning to shore in England. The Times Magazine would write a tribute to his honor. This one touches my heart. Yeah. And I mean, okay, so if you think about it, I mean, like, okay, what animal is going to be chasing down rats? It was a cat. Yep, so this feline served on the British naval vessel. It sucks, though. I wonder what happened with, he died shortly after getting back to land and everything. But that's really cool that there was finally a cat. Right? I have a soft spot in my heart for cats. Cats are awesome. But, there's a picture of this. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to do a tribute shirt. I'm going to. Just this face. I don't know. It's the cat's head is like, cocked to the side. Its eyes are like slowly blinking. Again, I'm a sucker for cats. So I especially think this one's cute. But definitely, I think I solidified it. I'm going to do a collage of all these animals on a shirt for this military month. I'll try to get it out a little bit sooner than I did this last one, but Simon the cat, that's really cool though. I mean, again, it just kind of shows you that, like, having animals alongside you really do serve a viable service, right? Like, cause they were plagued with this rat issue, which again, how does that happen? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a boat guy. I've never really been on boats, except for like the ones maybe on a lake or something, but I always feel like biggest issue at sea, and you hear about, like, back in the day when there's pirates and just like all this, there's rats. How did the rats get onto these boats? And then again, like, it's not just talking about like the 1700s when there's those wooden boats, but now we're talking about the 1940s and 50s, and there's still that problem. Right? Shit, in the movie The Titanic, you had all those rats, and that was one of the scenes where, like, hey, just follow the rats. So yeah, how does that happen? Are they in the food supply? Is it more of an issue back then than it is now? If you're on a boat, or if you travel on boats, or you have anything to do with boats, please let me know, because I'm really curious about that. It's like, how is there such a bad rat problem on all these ships, right? So Simon the cat, you have a special place in my heart. Good job on you. Thanks for letting those guys, survive for 3 months out at sea, killing all those rats. Judy spent 3 years as a POW. Oh my lord. All right. Let's see here. When a ship was attacked in World War II, Judy did her best to guide the crew to safety. She was a dog. A doll? No, my bad. She was a dog from Hong Kong and had been taken as a mascot for the British naval vessel. And she helped her crew find fresh water and stay alive for 2 days while they were all stranded on an island in the South China Sea. They would escape using boats, but would soon find themselves in the heart of Japanese village. Judy and the crew were sent to a POW camp where they would spend the next 3 years living under harsh rule. The beatings were frequent even for Judy. She risked her life defending the prisoners on the camp from assault, often pissing off the Japanese soldiers enough for them to turn their full wrath on her. The only reason she wasn't killed was her adoptive owner, a soldier named Williams, who convinced the Japanese commandant to grant Judy official POW status. Even with her newfound legal status, Judy would still get into trouble. She would bark at the guards, wild tigers, and once got into a battle with a crocodile. After the war, Williams smuggled her to England, where she lived the rest of her life as a war hero. Judy, that good on you. That makes me kind of tear up a little bit, knowing that, the dog, got some beatings too. Like that's I think that's one of the things with animals too, is that they just, I'm not saying animals are dumb, right? But like a lot of the times, I'm not saying that animals don't know what's going on, but there's like this certain innocence where they really just want to make people feel happy, right? And they just want to see you happy. And then just to have someone, beat a dog for no reason, like there's no need for that, right? Like the dog didn't start this war. The dog didn't do anything. The dog wasn't shooting, it had nothing to do, this war in general. Like, leave the dog alone, honestly, and I get it. I get it. I get it, but I don't get it, right? I understand from like, the captor's perspective, like, okay, you hurt the dog, then, it's going to strike a chord in these POWs, and they're going to get what they want from the POWs, but it's that was a nasty time in the war. Let's move past that, but Judy, good on you. And I'm sure like having that dog there during that time, 3 years, think about that, right? If you've never, especially like since it's, that this time of the month where we're honoring our military folk, I highly suggest going and doing a little bit of research into POW camps and just POWs in general, and just the harsh environments. If you haven't, read about it and listened to people's stories and everything like that, I really encourage you to do so. A couple years back, I looked into it just because I was curious about it, and those conditions were very bad, right? And it just, for 3 years, I can't imagine doing that for 3 years. But I'm glad that they had Judy, though. Again, like kind of like what I was saying with the first couple animals, Sergeant Stubby, Sergeant Buster, Sergeant Stubby. Just having like your animal there, as a comfort thing, right? Like there's probably nothing better. So I'm glad that they had Judy. I feel bad for Judy, but I'm glad that she got to retire. I'm glad that she had to have a quiet life after the war and everything. So, okay. Winnipeg, the blank, was the inspiration for Winnie the Pooh. Interesting. Okay. So in 1914, a Canadian military veteran by the name of Harry Colburn was headed to the battlefields of World War I. Before he left port, he bought a blank for a mere $20 and named her Winnipeg, after the Canadian city. He then smuggled Winnie on a boat to France, and she immediately became... Oh, fuck me. I didn't realize this until I guess I said the name Winnie. Okay, so I'm sure you guys can guess what the animal is. The blank was the inspiration for Winnie the Pooh. I don't know. Winnie the Pooh was a fucking bear. Okay, so, damn it. Should have practiced this beforehand. See, this is why you can't do things just on the fly, because, I would have been able to, like, say the inspiration of a child's cartoon or something like that, which I, didn't think about till right now. Anyways, in 1914, a Canadian military veteran by the name of Harry Colburn was headed to the battlefields of World War I. Before he left port, he bought a bear cub for a mere $20 and named her Winnipeg, after the Canadian city. He smuggled Winnie on a boat to France, and she immediately became popular with the troops in the camp. She boosted morale and was said to be a proficient navigator. But the dangers of trench warfare meant Colburn had to make a tough decision. He took her to the London Zoo, where she remained a stable exhibit for 20 years. Children were allowed in Winnie's enclosure and were free to pet and even ride her. As one zookeeper described, Winnie was the only bear that they ever truly trusted. It was here Winnie met author A.A. Millen and his son Christopher Robin. The boy fell in love with the bear and inspired his father to write a story about Winnie and Christopher Robin. That's really interesting. I did not know that the author's son was actually Christopher Robin. That's awesome. So now you know the story of Winnie the Pooh. Look at that. Isn't that effing weird? That's some effing weird stuff right there. Awesome. So cool. I mean, that's really cool to see that that happened. It kind of sucks though that you had to give the bear away right away. I don't know if this photo is of the actual bear. It's gotta be, because it honestly looks like an Ewok. But yeah, that's really cool. I never really knew the story behind Winnie the Pooh. I never really watched it as a kid. I was more of a Nickelodeon's like right off the bat. I don't really remember. There is one show that I remember watching as a kid, and my wife had to like tell me what it was, because she, I guess, watched it, and she knew what it was. But it was this clown that would sit on a couch that was like 20 times too big, right? And I think the show was called Big Comfy Couch. But whatever, like the only thing that sticks in my brain from that show is that the clown, like she would use her body as the hands of a clock. Like it was like a top-down angle, and she would move her arms and legs as the minutes and hours, and she would just like contort her body in a weird. It's the weirdest thing, and I'm not a huge fan of clowns, anyways. And it was nothing creepy by any means, but for whatever reason, that just stuck in my head. Even to this day, that's really the only thing that I remember about the show, and eating apples, watching it at my front table, waiting for the bus. Yep, that's all I remember. But yeah, not a huge Winnie the Pooh guy. Never really, watched it as a kid and everything. But that's really cool. That's really interesting. It kind of sucks again, but $20 back in the day has to be what, due to inflation, maybe closer to like $200, $150. I don't know. I'll do the math after this, but I can't imagine. Or maybe that's $20 nowadays, but I don't know. Maybe not. But that's the story of Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, it sucks that. I mean, it's kind of nice that the bear wasn't put in any sort of danger or anything like that. But it would have been interesting to see if what the animal would have done to help the war effort. All right, let's see here. There's only 3 more, and I'm only gonna do one. So if you want to it's what I'm reading from is www.ranker.com. So I will add this link in there if you want to check out the last 2 animals, and we'll go from there. So here we go. Nemo. Okay, rooted out a Vietnamese spy. Nemo, during the Vietnam War, helped root out infiltration. Okay, so Nemo rooted out a Vietnamese spy. During the Vietnam War, Nemo helped root out an infiltration of Vietnamese soldiers in 1966. On December 4th, the Tan Son Hut Air Base suffered a devastating attack. Some of the raiders avoided discovery, but Nemo was able to find them lurking around. Although both he and his handler were injured in the exchange, they managed to kill the attacking soldier. Nemo ended up losing an eye, but he was given credit for saving the life of his handler. Nemo retired from the service shortly after this ordeal and spent the remainder of his life at the Department of Defense Dog Center in Texas. So kind of a short little stint there and everything. I wonder if that's the actual dog itself. Again, a lot of these pictures, I couldn't be. The picture right now doesn't have the dog without an eye. It has both eyes and everything like that. So it could have been a picture beforehand and everything. But what do you think it is? What do you think it could be? I think you're right. It is a dog. All right. It was a sentry dog for the Vietnam War. So that's really cool. So they almost like, I feel like this is almost like a military police dog sort of situation. I think that's kind of what's going on here. But yeah, that's really cool that the dog was able to help in those efforts for, finding those combatants and everything. So again, now I'm not saying neither here. The war is what it is, right? We're just highlighting what the animals were able to do and their abilities and everything. So like that, doesn't matter what side they were fighting on. It's cool that they were able to, again, help the efforts in any sort of sense. And I'm wondering if there's got to be more stories out there like this too, right? And that was our last one, so we'll kind of wrap it up right now. But that's just just reading all these stories and everything like that. That just kind of goes to show you that animals just aren't, animals in the sense, right? Like you heard a lot of stuff about them being morale boosters, and I think that's really important. And I would hope, and I would, you would think that because of this, that military services would acknowledge this and have a little bit more leniency about people having animals when they go overseas and everything like that, or find them, or it's just, I don't know. We're just again, it's I don't know. Maybe if you're in the service, and you can maybe shed some light on this too, as far as how that all works, because I just don't see, you don't hear like all the stories that we read today were all about World War I, World War II, just around those kind of weird time frames where I feel like it was the rules could bend, and still kind of figuring out some stuff. But I don't know, maybe if you're in the service and you know of like this happening, maybe share your story too, and we'll put it on there. But yeah, for this episode, it wasn't that I didn't want to highlight, our men and women that serve or anything like that. It doesn't matter the country, but it was more of, because the show's called That's Effin' Weird, so let's think outside the box, right? And animals are huge, right? Everyone loves animals, like I said at the beginning of the show. So that's why I wanted to stop. I wanted to highlight, some of those brave animals that help us. And again, that's that innocence part of it, where just animals don't know what's going on. They just want to make sure that whoever they're rolling with is happy, right, and protected. Like that's their thing, right? It doesn't matter if it was a cat, a pigeon, horse, a duck. I wonder what other animals that we could find if we kept looking through this and everything. So I will leave you with that. I will leave the link as well, so just in case you want to take a look at this article yourself and read a little bit more about it, see the names, the pictures, and all that good stuff. Yeah, you can check it out. But I think, for this month's t-shirt design, I'm going to be putting most, if not all, the animals that we talked about on the shirt. Really, that baboon. What was that baboon's name? What was it? It was come on. Oh, just passed it. Jackie the baboon. If I had to go with one, it would be Jackie. Oh, it's just such a great picture. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. Thank you again for stopping by and taking, the time out of your day to listen to the podcast. I hope I didn't, ramble on too much, but that's what we do here when we're talking about weird stuff. So, hey, it's that time of the month where, again, we're talking about military. And if you see a vet or anything like that, or, a service dog, cat, pigeon, duck, whatever it may be, obviously ask the person who has that animal if it's okay to, pet it and touch it, because usually they have those like don't touch me things on it. But maybe ask about their story. Maybe those service animals actually did go to combat, so maybe take the time to listen about it. And if you're listening and you have a service animal that's done anything like this and you want to share their story, please comment. Please let us know. On the YouTube channel, you can send us an email at podinfo2022. Again, I check the email every single day, so that's probably the best way to get in touch with me. But yeah, go for it. We'd love to hear your story. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. And just remember, we don't want stuff that's normal. We want stuff that's effing weird.
And that wraps up another episode of That's Effin' Weird. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to follow, rate, and share the show with someone who loves the strange, the unexplained just as much as you do. You can keep up with all the things weird by following us on social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, Discord, and soon to be Patreon, where we share our clips, updates, and even more bizarre content between episodes. Got a topic you want us to cover, or a weird story of your own? Reach out to us and be a part of the conversation. We're always looking for the next strange thing to dive into. And just remember, we don't want stuff that's normal. We want stuff that's effing weird.
Cold salt, deep weight, iron hulls, black water, watch the surface, wait for the pulse, wait for the mark. Steel moves slow, rust and oil, salt and death. Wait for the sound. Wait for the sound.